I always knew my place within the family dynamic, a quiet satellite orbiting the brilliant sun that was my older brother, Mark. For 28 years, I had perfected the art of blending into the background, observing the subtle shifts in affection and the overt declarations of his supposed superiority. My parents, bless their hearts, had always seen him as the golden child, the destined success story, while my own aspirations were often met with polite, yet unmistakable, condescension. I remember countless family dinners where his latest career triumph was celebrated with effusive praise, while my modest achievements were brushed aside as mere hobbies, charming but ultimately insignificant. Their words, though seemingly kind, carried an undercurrent of dismissal, a quiet suggestion that my path was less valid, less worthy of their full attention. I often wondered if they simply couldn't comprehend a different kind of ambition, one that didn't involve grand pronouncements or public accolades. Did they ever truly see me, or was I always just a reflection of their preconceived notions about what a successful life should entail? My journey began subtly, a quiet rebellion against the expectations that sought to define me. While Mark pursued a traditional corporate path, climbing the ladder with a loud, confident stride, I was meticulously building something entirely different, a digital empire forged in the quiet hours of the night. My small online business, which they so readily dismissed, was in fact a rapidly expanding enterprise, a testament to my tireless dedication and strategic foresight. I poured every ounce of my energy into it, fueled by a silent determination to prove my worth, not to them, but to myself. I kept my true progress hidden, a carefully guarded secret, partly out of a desire to avoid their well-meaning, but often suffocating advice, and partly to protect myself from their inevitable comparisons to Mark. The irony was not lost on me as I watched them beam with pride over his incremental promotions, unaware of the vast chasm between our actual financial realities. Each line of code written, each new client secured, felt like a small, personal victory, a quiet whisper of defiance against their unspoken judgments. Was their blindness a comfort or a constant, nagging ache in my soul? The years passed, each one solidifying Mark's position as the family's undisputed star. He bought a sprawling house, drove a luxury car, and spoke of his important meetings with an air of self-importance that grated on my nerves. His conversations were always peppered with corporate jargon and tales of his latest power plays, delivered with a smug satisfaction that made my teeth clench. Meanwhile, I continued to live modestly, investing every spare dollar back into my burgeoning company, allowing the facade of my struggling existence to remain intact. My parents frequently urged me to seek a more stable career, suggesting I leverage Mark's connections to secure a position within his prestigious firm, completely oblivious to the fact that my small company was already poised to eclipse his entire division. I would always smile and nod, offering vague assurances that I was working on it, knowing full well that my own company was already generating more revenue than his entire department. The chasm between their perception and my reality grew wider with each passing month, a silent joke only I was privy to, a secret source of quiet amusement in my otherwise understated life. How long could this elaborate charade truly last without crumbling around me? The invitation to Mark's engagement party arrived like a gilded summons, promising an evening of ostentatious display and thinly veiled competition. His fiancée, Sarah, was everything my family admired, beautiful, ambitious, and from a prominent, well-connected family. Her presence only amplified the unspoken pressure to conform, to achieve a similar level of visible success. The venue was a grand ballroom in the city's most exclusive hotel, a testament to Mark's newfound status and, implicitly, reminder of my own perceived ordinariness. I knew this event would be a gauntlet of polite inquiries about my future and subtle digs at my lack of a proper career. A familiar dance I had performed countless times before. Despite my apprehension, a strange sense of anticipation settled within me. Perhaps, I thought, this would be the night the carefully constructed walls around my secret life would finally begin to crack, revealing the true scale of my quiet achievements. A part of me, deep down, yearned for that moment of recognition, even if it came with a side of shock and disbelief. Could this be the pivotal moment I had unknowingly awaited for so long? I arrived at the party dressed simply, choosing an elegant but understated gown that allowed me to blend into the sophisticated crowd, a deliberate choice to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. The ballroom buzzed with the chatter of hundreds of well-heeled guests, a symphony of clinking glasses and polite laughter, each sound a testament to the superficiality of the gathering. Mark, resplendent in a tailored suit, greeted me with a perfunctory hug before quickly turning his attention back to his more important guests, his eyes already scanning the room for more influential connections. My parents, beaming with pride, introduced me to various relatives and acquaintances, each introduction invariably highlighting Mark's achievements before vaguely mentioning my own creative pursuits, as if my entire existence could be summarized in a dismissive phrase. I smiled, nodded, and offered generic pleasantries, all the while observing the scene with a detached amusement, a silent observer in my own family's grand performance, noting every subtle slight and every overt boast. Was I merely an extra in their meticulously choreographed play, or something more? As the evening progressed, the alcohol flowed freely, and Mark's confidence swelled with each congratulatory toast, his voice growing louder, his gestures more expansive. He took the stage, ostensibly to thank his guests, but quickly veered into a lengthy monologue about his journey to success, peppered with thinly veiled boasts about his strategic genius and unwavering vision. He spoke of hard work, dedication, and the importance of real careers, casting subtle glances in my direction, a clear indication that his words were meant for my ears, a final jab at my perceived inadequacy. My stomach tightened with a familiar knot of discomfort, knowing what was likely coming next, the predictable crescendo of his self-aggrandizement. Sarah, beside him, seemed oblivious, basking in the spotlight, a radiant smile fixed on her face, completely unaware of the impending storm. The air grew thick with anticipation, or perhaps, for me, a growing sense of dread, as the moment of reckoning drew near. Would his words finally push me past the point of quiet endurance? Then came the moment, sharp and cutting, that solidified the evening's purpose, a precise blow aimed directly at my carefully guarded composure. Mark, with a condescending chuckle that grated on my ears, transitioned from his own triumphs to a light-hearted anecdote about our childhood, a seemingly innocent preamble to his grand humiliation. He then pointed directly at me, a spotlight of unwanted attention suddenly fixed upon my face, drawing every eye in the room. He publicly ridiculed my small online business, calling it a childish hobby and suggesting I should get a real job like him, emphasizing the word real with a sneer. His words, amplified by the microphone, echoed through the vast ballroom, drawing the attention of every guest, their faces a mixture of surprise and pity. A wave of embarrassed silence rippled through the crowd, followed by a few polite, pitying smiles directed my way. My cheeks burned with a flush that had nothing to do with the warmth of the room, but rather the indignity of the moment. How could he so casually disregard the years of silent struggle and sacrifice? My parents shifted uncomfortably in their seats, offering weak, apologetic smiles that did little to soothe the sting of his words, their usual boisterous pride now replaced by a visible unease. I felt a strange calm descend upon me, a quiet resolve hardening within my core, a silent steeling of my will. The years of being overlooked, of having my efforts minimized, culminated in this single, humiliating moment, a public declaration of my perceived insignificance. It was no longer just about me. It was about every quiet achiever, every underestimated dreamer whose silent battles went unseen, whose triumphs were dismissed. I met Mark's gaze, a steady, unwavering look that held no anger, only a profound sense of clarity, a silent challenge. His smirk faltered slightly, perhaps sensing a shift in the air, a subtle change in the energy between us, a dawning realization that he had miscalculated his target. What hidden strength was I now beginning to discover within myself? Just as the awkward silence began to stretch, threatening to consume the entire room, a commotion erupted near the entrance, drawing everyone's attention away from the uncomfortable scene. The murmuring grew louder as a distinguished figure, impeccably dressed and radiating an aura of quiet authority, made his way through the crowd with purposeful strides. It was Mr. Harrison, the CEO of Sterling Innovations, one of the largest tech conglomerates in the country, and a name I knew intimately from countless business dealings. He was a man rarely seen at social gatherings, his presence alone commanding immediate respect and attention from every corner of the room. Mark, ever the opportunist, brightened visibly, a hopeful gleam in his eyes, assuming Mr. Harrison had arrived to congratulate him on his engagement, a testament to his own inflated ego. A flicker of hope, or perhaps desperation, crossed his face as he prepared to greet the unexpected guest, completely unaware of the true reason for his arrival. Was this unexpected arrival a mere coincidence, or something far more significant? Mr. Harrison, however, did not approach Mark, completely bypassing him with a polite but firm nod. Instead, his gaze swept across the room, a practiced scan that quickly settled directly on me, a warm recognition in his eyes. A warm, genuine smile lit up his face as he navigated the crowded floor, making a direct beeline for my position, his steps unwavering and determined. The chatter in the ballroom slowly died down, replaced by a collective hush of curiosity and confusion, as hundreds of eyes followed his trajectory. My parents exchanged bewildered glances, clearly unsure why such a prominent figure would be seeking me out, their expressions a mixture of surprise and growing apprehension. Mark, still on stage, watched with a puzzled frown, his earlier smugness replaced by a growing sense of unease, a dawning realization that something was amiss. The air crackled with unspoken questions, each gaze in the room now fixed on the unfolding scene, anticipating the revelation that was about to change everything. What could possibly be the reason for such an unexpected and public display? "Emily, my dear," Mr. Harrison's voice boomed, clear and resonant, cutting through the silence of the ballroom as he extended a hand towards me, a gesture of profound respect. I apologize for my tardiness. A last-minute board meeting ran over, but I simply couldn't miss this opportunity to celebrate with you. He then turned to the bewildered crowd, his voice carrying an undeniable weight, commanding their full attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to Emily Thorne, the visionary founder and CEO of Nexus Innovations." A collective gasp rippled through the room, followed by a flurry of whispers and stunned exclamations, as the name of my company, once a carefully guarded secret, echoed through the grand hall. Mark, still on stage, looked as though he had been struck by lightning, his jaw slack, his carefully constructed world visibly crumbling around him, his face a mask of utter disbelief. How could such a simple introduction shatter so many long-held illusions? Mr. Harrison continued, his voice filled with genuine admiration, his words painting a vivid picture of my achievements. Nexus Innovations, as many of you may know, is the driving force behind the revolutionary AI platform that has transformed our industry, setting new benchmarks for innovation and efficiency. We at Sterling Innovations have been pursuing a strategic partnership with Emily's company for months, a collaboration that will redefine the future of technology and solidify our position as market leaders. He then looked directly at Mark, a knowing glint in his eye, a subtle but unmistakable challenge in his gaze. "In fact, your brother's company, Sterling Industries, has been one of our key clients for over 2 years, unknowingly relying on Nexus's back-end infrastructure for their most critical operations, from supply chain management to customer relations. The revelation hung in the air, a heavy, undeniable truth, a silent accusation against Mark's ignorance and arrogance. What would be the immediate fallout of this shocking, public disclosure? The ballroom erupted into a cacophony of murmurs and exclamations, a wave of astonished chatter sweeping through the room. Faces that had previously held pity now registered awe and disbelief, their expressions shifting from polite indifference to genuine admiration. My parents, their expressions a mixture of shock and dawning realization, stared at me as if seeing me for the very first time, their eyes wide with a newfound understanding. Mark, meanwhile, stumbled off the stage, his face pale, his eyes wide with a mixture of horror and dawning comprehension, the weight of his public humiliation visibly crushing him. He had just publicly ridiculed the woman who, unbeknownst to him, held the keys to his company's very foundation, the architect of the very systems he boasted about. The irony was exquisite, a bitter pill he was now forced to swallow in front of hundreds of witnesses, his carefully constructed facade shattered beyond repair. Could this single moment truly redefine all of my past relationships? I remained composed, a serene smile gracing my lips as Mr. Harrison continued to sing the praises of Nexus Innovations, his words echoing the silent triumphs of my years of hard work. I watched as people who had ignored me all evening now clamored to introduce themselves, their voices filled with newfound respect and a desperate desire to connect, their business cards appearing as if by magic. My parents approached me, their usual air of confident superiority replaced by a hesitant, almost apologetic demeanor, their eyes downcast. My mother's eyes welled up with tears, a mixture of pride and regret, as she softly whispered my name, her voice barely audible. The shift in their perception was palpable, a tangible weight lifting from my shoulders, a sense of liberation I had never truly known. Would their newfound respect be genuine, or merely a reaction to my success? Mark, however, was nowhere to be seen, having vanished into the throng of guests. He had retreated to a quiet corner of the ballroom, his face buried in his hands, the weight of his public humiliation crushing him, his entire world seemingly collapsing around him. Sarah, his fiancée, looked utterly bewildered, her perfect smile now replaced by a look of confused concern, her dreams of a grand future with Mark suddenly uncertain. The celebration had transformed into a spectacle, a dramatic reveal that had irrevocably altered the family's landscape, a seismic shift in power dynamics. The air, once filled with Mark's boasts, now hummed with the silent acknowledgement of my quiet triumph, a powerful testament to unseen resilience. It was a moment of profound vindication, years of silent work finally culminating in this undeniable, public recognition, a sweet, unexpected victory. What would be the lasting impact of this evening on his carefully constructed world? The next few days were a whirlwind of apologies, awkward conversations, and desperate attempts by my family to mend fences, their sudden attentiveness almost overwhelming. My parents, now fully aware of the scale of my success, bombarded me with calls, expressing their immense pride and offering belated congratulations, their voices dripping with a newfound admiration. Their voices, once laced with thinly veiled pity, now carried an almost desperate eagerness to connect, to be a part of my burgeoning world. I listened patiently, acknowledging their words, but maintaining a polite distance, a quiet barrier against their sudden intrusion. The years of being overlooked had taught me the value of self-reliance, and their sudden shift in attitude felt less like genuine remorse and more like a reaction to my newfound status, a calculated attempt to reclaim a relationship they had previously neglected. Could I ever truly trust the sincerity of their sudden change of heart? Mark's situation, however, was far more precarious, his professional life teetering on the brink of collapse. The news of his public gaffe, coupled with the revelation of Sterling Industries' reliance on Nexus Innovations, quickly spread through the corporate world like wildfire, damaging his reputation beyond repair. Mr. Harrison, a man of impeccable integrity and unwavering principles, had made it clear that Mark's unprofessional conduct would not be tolerated, setting a stern example. Within days, Mark was stripped of his new promotion and placed on a probationary period. His career trajectory abruptly halted, his once promising future now shrouded in uncertainty. His once boastful demeanor was replaced by a sullen resentment, and he avoided my calls, unable to face the woman he had so carelessly dismissed, the architect of his unexpected downfall. Would this professional setback finally force him to confront his own arrogance? Sarah, his fiancée, found herself in an equally uncomfortable position, caught in the crossfire of Mark's unraveling career. Her family, who had previously celebrated Mark's potential and his supposed ascent, now viewed him with skepticism and thinly veiled disappointment. The engagement, once a symbol of their combined success and a source of family pride, became a source of quiet tension and whispered doubts. I heard through the grapevine that their wedding plans were put on hold indefinitely, the lavish ceremony now overshadowed by the public embarrassment and the uncertainty of Mark's future. I felt no joy in their misfortune, only a quiet understanding of the consequences that inevitably follow arrogance and disrespect, a universal truth playing out before my eyes. My focus remained firmly on my business, on the tangible success I had built with my own hands, far removed from their dramatic entanglement. Could their relationship withstand the harsh glare of this unexpected reality? Weeks turned into months, and Nexus Innovations continued its meteoric rise, a testament to the power of quiet determination. I signed major contracts with global corporations, expanded into new international markets, and hired a team of brilliant, dedicated professionals who shared my vision and passion. My days were filled with strategic planning, groundbreaking innovation, and the quiet satisfaction of building something truly impactful, something that genuinely contributed to the world. The memory of Mark's humiliating words still lingered, a faint echo in the back of my mind, but it no longer held any power over me, its sting long since faded. Instead, it served as a quiet reminder of how far I had come, a testament to the resilience forged in the fires of neglect and underestimation, a silent fuel for my continued drive. My success was no longer a secret, it was a beacon, shining brightly for all to see, a silent declaration of my true capabilities. What new challenges and triumphs lay ahead on this exhilarating path? One afternoon, a tearful call from my mother broke the quiet hum of my office, her voice laced with a desperate urgency. Mark had finally been laid off from Sterling Industries, a direct consequence of his continued underperformance, his inability to adapt, and the lingering fallout from the engagement party incident. He was struggling desperately to find new employment, his reputation irrevocably tarnished, his confidence shattered beyond repair. My mother, her voice trembling with barely suppressed sobs, pleaded with me to talk to Mr. Harrison, to pull some strings for my brother, to somehow magically fix his problems. She reminded me of our family ties, of the love that should bind us, conveniently forgetting the years of dismissiveness and ridicule she had allowed to fester. Could I truly forgive and forget the years of neglect and public humiliation? I listened calmly, my heart unmoved by her emotional pleas. A quiet resolve hardening within me. I explained, with a quiet firmness that left no room for argument, that I had built my success through hard work, genuine merit, and unwavering dedication, and I would not compromise my principles by interfering in professional matters. I reminded her that opportunities were earned, not given, a fundamental lesson Mark was now learning the hard way, through bitter experience. The conversation ended with a strained silence, my mother's disappointment palpable, her hopes dashed. I knew my decision would be met with further disapproval from the family, but I had long ago learned to prioritize my own well-being and integrity over their fleeting approval. a lesson learned through years of quiet struggle. Was this unwavering stance a sign of strength or a lingering echo of past hurts? Mark eventually reached out, not with a genuine apology for his past behavior, but with a desperate plea for a job at Nexus Innovations, his voice tinged with a raw desperation. His voice, once arrogant and self-assured, was now tinged with desperation, a stark contrast to his former confidence. He spoke of starting fresh and learning from his mistakes, but I could hear the underlying sense of entitlement in his tone, the expectation of a shortcut. He still expected a handout, a preferential treatment, rather than a genuine desire to earn his place through hard work and dedication. I politely declined, explaining that our company culture valued genuine talent, a strong work ethic, and a collaborative spirit, not family connections or past grievances. The conversation was brief, ending with a frustrated sigh from his end, a clear indication of his continued inability to accept responsibility. Would he ever truly understand the depth of his past transgressions? Life continued to unfold, bringing with it new opportunities and unexpected joys, a tapestry woven with threads of genuine connection. I found genuine friendships with colleagues who respected my intellect and drive, who saw me for who I truly was, not my family name or perceived status. My relationship with my parents remained cordial, a polite but distant connection, but the dynamic had irrevocably shifted, the old power imbalances gone forever. They treated me with a newfound deference, a quiet respect that had been absent for so long, a silent acknowledgement of my true worth. It was a strange, almost surreal experience to finally be seen, truly seen, after so many years in the shadows, a profound sense of liberation. The sting of past slights had faded, replaced by the quiet satisfaction of a life built on my own terms, a life of purpose and authenticity. Could I ever fully reconcile with the past, or would its lessons forever shape my future? Mark, I heard, eventually found a low-level job in a different industry, a far cry from the lofty ambitions he once proclaimed, a humbling descent from his former heights. His engagement to Sarah quietly dissolved, unable to withstand the pressure of his professional downfall and public shame, their future together crumbling. I felt a pang of something akin to empathy, a fleeting moment of understanding, but it was quickly overshadowed by the knowledge that he was finally facing the consequences of his own actions, a karmic balance being restored. My journey had been long and arduous, filled with silent battles and hidden triumphs, but it had ultimately led me to a place of profound peace and undeniable success, a testament to my unwavering spirit. The quiet girl they once dismissed had built an empire, not out of spite, but out of an unshakable belief in her own worth, a testament to the power of resilience. What new horizons awaited me, now that the weight of their expectations had finally lifted?